365 days of scripting videos, filming videos, editing videos, and putting myself out into the world, and it has been a journey. For sure, some good moments, a handful of bad, and definitely some ugly ones in there as well. My hope for this video is to share some of the realities of what I've been through in the past year of being a YouTuber. And if you stumble upon this video and are thinking about starting your own channel or continuing with yours, I hope this gives you some insight into some of the realities and behind the scenes of what actually goes on back here as far as good, bad, and ugly of being a YouTuber. Let's start on a positive note and start with the good. And I'm going to start with my favorite point of all about this whole past year, and that is I no longer care about what anybody else thinks. And I mean that in the best way possible. I do not care who is watching, who is judging, who has what comments to make about the content that I'm putting out there. And this definitely has taken some time to get to this point, because when I first started, my first handful of videos, I was stressing about all of it. How I looked, how I sounded, the background, the noise, the this, the that, everything. And I was so concerned with who was going to stumble upon my channel and how embarrassed I would be and what they're judging me for and all the things. And something happens along the way as you create more and more videos, your confidence starts to build. And you eventually get to this place where your confidence has built so much that you stop caring about what it is that you're actually putting out there. All you care about is the fact that it feels good to you and it feels good to the community of people that you have created. And so all of those worries about judgments and who's watching and what they're gonna say, they kind of slowly fade into the background and become noise. And it is such a freeing feeling to have, to finally let that weight go and be super confident in the content that you're creating. Here's a prime example. So my last video, I filmed in a regular old hoodie, my hair was all over the place, and I barely had any makeup on. And a year ago, I would have cringed looking at myself and being like, girl, are we really putting that on the internet today? But a year later, I no longer care, and I do not feel the same way. And ironically enough, that video has done better in its first week than like 95% of my other videos. So that should tell you something. That when you are truly authentic and you start to feel more confident in yourself, all of that other stuff will go away and it just becomes noise in the background. The next good part of all of this is that I have become so much more intentional with my time. It feels like I've actually found more hours in the day, which of course scientifically that's not possible. We all have the same 24 hours, but I just feel like because I am utilizing every single minute in the day, it feels like I have found more time. And that's because I'm juggling a lot. I'm a full 9-to-5 marketing professional. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, we have the household, we have family, we have friends, a social life, all the things happening at the same time. But I've still somehow managed to keep this YouTube channel for a full year and keep it going consistently. And I think the only way to juggle all that is to make sure that every minute of every day is accounted for. And while I'm busier than ever, it still feels so good in my soul to feel like I'm living and I'm actually present in my real life instead of being on my phone, doom scrolling for hours, watching Netflix for days on end. It just feels like I've brought some life back into my world. And that's because I am so intentional with every hour and not wasting any of them, because I need all of them to juggle all these things. The other good thing that has come out of all of this is that I now truly believe there is a community for all of us. No matter how niche your content is, no matter what you're talking about, there will be people out there, your people, that will find you and they will love what you have to say. Even if it's about the most random, weirdest thing, it does not matter. There is somebody else out in the world who feels exactly the same way about that thing and they will want to connect with you. And that's what I've discovered this past year. I talk a lot about books, and as we all know, there's 1,000,001 booktubers, but I still feel like there's a small place for me in the community, and I still have engaged with so many people that have had such nice things to say. So many of you have left really sweet comments just motivating and encouraging me to keep going and to keep putting this content out there because they want to talk to me about it. And that is so rewarding to know, especially when you're comparing to these huge booktubers and other YouTubers that have like millions or hundreds of thousands of followers, and you're just like, is there a place for me? Absolutely. There is absolutely a place for you, and you will find your people and the ones who want to hear you talk about it, who want to see videos about it, and who cannot wait until your next upload. The last one I'll mention here in this good section is that I now believe you can teach yourself to do anything at any point. Before I started actually making my first video, I was crippled by the anxiety of learning how to edit a video. I did not think it was going to be possible. I thought I was going to have to go back to school, get like a graphic design degree, all the things, and I just did not understand how I was going to climb that mountain. And then one day I just got on YouTube and I started looking up Final Cut Pro tutorials, and I started from the very beginning and I watched like 100 videos and I was like, you know what, this is not that bad. Let me actually just download the free 90-day version and just give it a go. And I took some test footage and I just started playing with it. And lo and behold, you can actually learn it. And there's so much good content out on the internet, not just on YouTube, but everywhere. People are willing to teach you anything. And if you just have the motivation and the dedication, you can learn to teach yourself anything. And it's given me the confidence to be like, what else do I want to learn? What else do I want to put myself out there with? And I think as we get older and as we do the adulting thing, we kind of get comfortable in all these little pockets of our life. And we start to tell ourselves these weird beliefs that like, I can't do that. Of course that couldn't be me. It couldn't happen to me. And we just spiral in that negative direction. But if you snap yourself out of it and you're like, you know what, let me start with the first baby step and just see what's out there. Let me just see what kind of content I can find on learning whatever it is, how to crochet, how to, do DIY at home, how to start a YouTube channel. There's content. And if you just start with that first baby step, you will surprise yourself in more ways than one. Because if you have seen some of my last couple of videos, some of my lifestyle ones, I've done some really cool editing shots and some cool transitions. Stuff that a year ago I never would have imagined would be me filming and editing. So just take that first baby step, because it doesn't matter at what age, at what point in your life, you absolutely can learn something new. Okay, now jumping over to the bad bucket, I'm going to start with the first one, which is the biggest one, and that is the fact that I am tired all the time. Say it with me. This is exhausting. Thinking about videos, scripting them, filming them, editing them, the front to end process of a single video is very, very exhausting. And that's just for one video. You have to continuously be putting them out at least once a week, at least a couple of times a week, whatever you decide works for you. But it is exhausting and it will consume a lot of real estate in your mind. And so if you're like me and you're juggling a million and one things, it's really something to think about, that it will become a really big part of your life if you want to do it consistently and intentionally. So it's just something to be aware of, the fact that you will be exhausted all the time. There is no getting out of it. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the energy, and it will lead to you being tired a lot of the times. But the good thing is you will get really good sleep, because you will knock the F out at the end of the day after doing this many things. For me, the next part of the bad bucket is this entire self-identity crisis that I have been having over the past year. And it's going to happen to all of us that have a lot of different interests. So for me, my channel is mostly about books and wellness and mental health and some anxiety stuff, but I also have a lot of interest in cooking meals and keeping the home really nice and aesthetic, and going on trips and traveling and being with my friends. There's so much that I want to share. And as you'll notice from my last 50 videos, I've done a little bit of all of that. So even though most of it is books and wellness, I've tried to dabble in some of that stuff just to figure out what it is that I actually want to be sharing and talking about. So you will go on this weird roller coaster of trying to figure out who you are, what makes sense out in the world with the audience that you're trying to create. It's going to be a whole roller coaster of ups and downs, and being like, one day you know exactly who you are and exactly what content you want to put out, to the next day literally questioning everything about your existence and whether or not this is even the person that you want to be or who you want to become. It's going to be quite the journey to getting to know yourself. And some people can also turn that into a positive, because it's actually a really nice next evolution of who you are and getting closer and closer to that authentic version of you and what you're trying to put out into the world. But I will say it is going to be a roller coaster of going through that self-identity crisis. The other bad part that I will mention is that it is expensive to get going and also to maintain. And you can of course pick and choose where you want to spend your money. So for me, for instance, I did not invest in a camera. I have the new iPhone and it films pretty well, so I decided not to spend money on that. But I did spend a little money on getting a new computer, some editing software. I also pay for a soundtrack website because music is a priority for me. I always want to show some ambiance and have a nice kind of cozy feel to my videos. And I think music is the way to do that for me. And so it just kind of depends on where your priorities are and what is more meaningful to you, because there are other things that I use for free. So on Canva, I use the free version to do my thumbnails, and I think it does a decent job. So I think you can pick and choose, but I don't think you can get away with not spending any money. I do think you have to spend a little bit of money in some of the buckets that are a little bit more priority for you, like music was for me. Now let's get to the juicy part of this video, which is the ugly portion of this 1-year journey on YouTube that I've had. And I'm gonna start with the first one, which does rear its ugly head often, which is comparison. There is no getting around that. At some point in your journey, you will find yourself comparing to not only other people that make the same kind of content you do, but just to the whole world in general. Anyone who creates content, you will be comparing yourself to them. And it's so easy to say, I'm just gonna stay in my own lane, water my own garden, tend to my own flowers. It just doesn't work that way. And no matter how strong-willed you are, you will still find yourself going down that rabbit hole of comparison. Why don't my videos do as well as this person? Oh, I feel like my editing is a little better. Why is it still not doing well? Why am I not getting the traction on the algorithm? You will question everything and you will compare everything, and it is inevitable. It happens to all of us. I don't know one single YouTuber who could say that they have never once had a thought of comparison. So it really does take a lot of brain power to kind of keep yourself on the right track and kind of bring yourself back into your own lane and watering your own garden and staying focused, because there will be times that it will suck you under and it will be really hard to get out of kind of that comparison mindset. One of the other ugly parts of this journey that I've picked up is a new digital addiction to the long list of the ones I already had. So for most of us, getting on Instagram every day and doing the doom scrolling is as easy as breathing and living and walking. And now I've just added a new one. It's called YouTube Studio. And YouTube Studio is where you will find all of the analytics for your videos and your channel. It will tell you everything you could ever want to know about how your video is performing, who your subscribers are, all about your audience, who's coming and going, how long they're watching, when they're dropping off, how your content's comparing to other content. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's so much data that you could never possibly process all of it at the same time, especially if you're continuously putting videos out there. And I gotta say, some days are worse than others. So the days that I upload a video, those days are particularly obsessive, because I will sit there and I will watch how the video is doing in the first 10 minutes, the first hour, the first day. And that's not healthy at all. In fact, they tell you don't look at least the first day. Just put it out there and walk away and go do something else. But it's just that human part of me that can't help myself but to go on there and look how it's doing. And then throughout that day or throughout that weekend or whenever I've uploaded, I will check it constantly, just looking at my phone version, my computer version, trying to digest everything, analyze everything, why something's working, why something's not working. It just becomes this obsessive part of your YouTube journey. And I really have to catch myself on some days and be like, this is not healthy and I need to take a break. So you really have to have that willpower to be able to walk away. I mean, you know, analytics are great. They really help you kind of shape and mold your videos and help you evolve. But when it crosses that boundary of becoming obsessive and going into your mental health and affecting how you feel, then you really got to be able to identify when to draw that line, because it will interfere in your daily life. Another ugly part of this journey for me has been the fact that I have lost some magic when it comes to some of the experiences in my life. Because you're so focused on filming and capturing them, it's not as authentic as if you were just living and existing through them. So for instance, on my channel here, because I do talk a lot about books and going to bookstores, sometimes when I'm at these bookstores, I can't quite enjoy the beauty of the moment because I'm so focused on filming or getting right angles or making sure nobody's in my shot or the sounds are right or whatever it is. It kind of just takes away from the authenticity of that. And I've had to remind myself as I've made more videos that it's okay if some person walks into the frame, or if I don't get the exact right angle, I don't have to film it a million times, because it just becomes work. And the magic of being in that really cool, unique bookstore is no longer there, because I've been to some really cool ones around the world and I don't want all of them to feel like work or to feel like all of my interactions are inauthentic. And so I've had to draw the line with, okay, I'm gonna film for 10 minutes, I'm gonna get some of the shots I want, they don't have to be perfect, and then I'm gonna spend some separate time just walking around by myself without my camera out and actually living and breathing that experience. So you do have to be a little bit mindful of how much magic you're kind of taking out of these experiences because you are so focused on filming and making sure that you get all of the different shots that you want. And then the last ugly part of this journey I will mention is that it is just really tough. There is no other way to put it. It is going to take a piece of your soul and it's not going to give it back. There are going to be days where you question everything and you're like, why am I even doing this? Why am I spending countless hours? I'm not even monetized yet. I don't have 1,000 subscribers. I'm this measly tiny little channel with a few people listening. Why am I doing this? And you will constantly be questioning your why. And that is a really tough thing to go through, you know, putting in so much effort and putting in all of your time and energy and just giving it so much and feeling like it's not going anywhere. And it's going to make you question why you started and why you're going. And some of those days you're just going to have to get some cookie dough and be in your sweats and just have your tears, because I have certainly had those days where I've just wanted to give up because I was like, what is the point? I'm this tiny little blip on the internet. Nobody's really watching, nobody's interested. But you know, you gotta just find the motivation, and if it's meaningful to you and if creating this content really resonates with what you're trying to do and the messages you're trying to put out, then you will find that motivation the next day. But I do think on those days when you're feeling a little low, you just kind of have to be in your feelings and you just kind of have to ride the wave. If you want to be sad that day, if you want to be unmotivated and a little over it, you can be over it. But the next day, just pick yourself up and get going again, because there is so much rewarding stuff to come out of this, but you most definitely will have those tough days where you question everything. So there you have it, some of the good, bad, and ugly of my 1-year experience on YouTube so far. I'm sure a lot of it will change and evolve as I spend more time being a creator on this platform and learning more about my audience and about myself and all the content that I'm putting out there. If someone were to ask me, you know, is it worth it? Are you gonna keep going? My answer is absolutely, because the good has definitely outweighed the bad and the ugly, and I'm enjoying learning about all of it and learning about myself along the way. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will catch you in my next video.